in the field of non-verbal communication, which is how our bodies talk a lot when we are speaking, when we are not speaking. So we do a lot of different kind of programs, right from learning, workshops, online courses, coaching. We also do high-end consulting. So across the globe, we work with different kind of organizations, different kind of cultures, different kind of seniority and all that. So these are some of the clients that we've had the fortune of working with in the past. And that's me. Komal from my team was supposed to join in today, but she has a power cut. So let me just introduce myself. My name is Khyati Bhatt, and I'm the founder of this company. I specialize in this subject. I started the brand in 2013, and I've trained for mastery in nonverbal communication with retired FBI special agent. His name is Joe Navarro, and if you look him up, he's the expert in the world right now in this field. So with a lot of corporate background, I have worked in different fields, right from currency trading, portfolio management, international bankers. I also had my own brand of retail, my family brand. And then when I was ready, I started Simply Body Talk. So we do get, our articles and our thoughts covered in media at different portals. Not very good with introduce myself, I'm sorry. Okay, let's just go forward. So what are we going to be doing today? A lot of different things are there. It is a no listen only mode kind of a program, which means you have to participate, then only we go forward. If I feel that the answers are not coming, I'm not going to be going forward. So what are the things we are going to be covering? First is myth busters when it comes to body language. There are a lot of common errors that we've seen people to be having misconceptions about the subject. I want to make those clear. Then we take up why lawyers need to know about body language. We'll take up a few case studies to help you understand and also practice and challenge your observation skills. I'm sure as lawyers you already observe your clients and the opposite party a lot, so let's challenge you today. And then we have more case studies that are coming up. Then we have one Know the Expert quiz. Again, I'll tell you more about it as we get there. And at the end, we have a little surprise for all of you. So let's just go forward. I'll just make one thing clear, which is if you participate, there is a chance of winning some prizes. So make sure that you participate. All right. So the first is a Mythbuster quiz. Let's begin. How this is going to go is there are going to be 5 questions that we'll cover. Okay. These are all what we know as popular body language tips that are shared generally on the internet. What you have to do is you have to tell me whether this is correct or this is not correct. And then we will also see why. So keep your laptops, if you have those ready, otherwise your phones, your keypads ready. Whoever answers first, obviously you are the one who gets highlighted. Type in your answer and win. The only thing is what we recommend is please do not Google the answer. You are all here to learn. So the objective should be just to participate and see if your knowledge is correct or not. Okay, let's just begin. Here's the first question. Easy, but let's see whether you know this or not. Lie detector test is not admissible in the court. Is this true or false? I'm going to wait for the answers. Let me just put up my chat. Yeah, so I will wait for some answers before we go to the next one. I think people have already started putting in your answers. The statement that is put on the screen, whether it is true or false, that is what you have to tell me. Lie detector is not admissible in the court. That is the statement. Is this statement correct or not correct? It is true but not reliable. True, false, false. Lots of different answers coming in. Are these guesses or are these things that you verified? Okay, so the correct answer is this is a true statement. Lie detector test is not admissible in the court, which means if you prove somebody is stating something which is correct, not correct, on the basis of a lie detector test, you cannot take that to the court and tell them that, you know, this is why you should believe. Why is that so? Because there are false positives that come up on the lie detector test. And if you don't know this, you should read up a little more about it. it's shown so popularly in movies all around that it becomes difficult for people to know what is true, what is not true. But the correct thing is, lie detector, you cannot take that to the court and tell them that, because this person's body language or non-verbal communication is saying so and so, that is why they are not saying the truth. Okay. I'll tell you one thing why this is there. Because when a person is under stress, okay, when they are highly tensed, their body language or the way they show different physiological responses, they can be very, very similar to somebody who is probably saying a lie. Another thing is, when you are lying, if you don't know you are lying, then again on that lie detector test you might not even show that you are lying, so it's not very accurate. All right, let's go to the next question. I think some people have questions. Just keep them till we finish this section. I will take up the questions if that's possible. Otherwise, we'll take up all the questions at the end. Okay, the next question is, up to 40% of the weightage meaning how much we focus on when it comes to face-to-face communication, that is based on non-verbal communication. So basically what we know as body language and the voice, up to 40% is based on non-verbal communication. Is this true? Is this not true? What do you think? Yes or no? Up to 40% is non-verbal communication when we are communicating with each other. Or do you think you should focus on what somebody is saying? What do you think? No answers coming in? I will wait for some answers before we go forward. What do you think? Up to 40% you should focus on non-verbal communication or not? What do you think? No answers? Okay, so in fact, the correct answer is at least 40% is non-verbal communication. In fact, what studies repeatedly show is 50% to sometimes up to 100% of what we are communicating comes through our non-verbal communication. Okay, so at least 40%. So the answer to this is yes, at least 40% is non-verbal communication. Why I've put that there is, again, there are these different, famous studies that are there which show that you should focus only 7% on the words, the rest is all non-verbal communication. That is not correct. That study was done for a very different reason and people just misquoted left, right and center. So you should remember that yes, there are times when we focus more on the words, but then in any face-to-face communication, 50% to sometimes a little higher, we focus on what or how people are saying something. Okay, let's go to the next question. I want people to participate. Next, I'm going to tell you the answer only if I see people answering. Okay, I think somebody has put their audio on. Please, I would request you to keep your audios off. It can distract others who are participating. Okay, the third question is, body language is about confidence. Is that true or not true? What do you think? Is body language about confidence? So using body language, you show confidence to somebody, or is it something else or beyond being confident? What do you think? Answer to this statement is true or false? Again, I am not proceeding till I get some answers, so I will wait for your answers to come in. No answers? I hope I am refreshing my screen. Yes, so the fact is it's about a lot of different things, like some of you are saying that it's beyond that. So that is the correct answer. The correct answer is that yes, body language does help us to project confidence, but it's a lot beyond that. So the answer to this is false. Body language is not about confidence. Rather, generally body language is about trying to understand people in real time. What is real time? Real time meaning body language is not like a generic concept, which means that so and so's body language is confident, so and so's body language is dominant. That's not how it works. When we are looking at somebody, their body language will keep on changing. At some time, I might be more interested in what you're saying, so my body language would show you that. Sometimes I myself might not be very sure of what I'm saying, then at that time, again, my body language will be different. So that is why you need to understand people's body language in detail, not just get a generic view or idea about what the body language is all about. All right, let's go to the next one, the second last question. Steady eye contact means the person is honest. Now, this is something I think you might be using a lot when you're trying to understand whether the person is talking to you, is saying the right thing or not. I think we got very quick answers here. Steady eye contact means person is honest. So I think most of you know the answer to this, which is it's not always true. So the answer to this is false. In fact, there is a lot of research which says that people who are trying to lie, they will go out of their way to maintain steady eye contact so that you don't feel that they are lying. So again, I'm not saying that just because somebody is maintaining steady eye contact, that means they're lying. But the idea is, if somebody is looking you in the eye and speaking, it does not always mean that they are being honest. There are other things to look at which you should in order to understand how committed somebody is to their words. Okay. Here is the last question in this quiz. Feet play no role in the courtroom. So that means, when you are trying to explain the concepts you use, maybe hand gestures, facial expressions, when you're trying to understand the person who's seated in that dais, you are trying to just look at their, again, the torso and understand that. So is that correct? Feet play no role in the courtroom. True or false? What do you think? So the answer is yes. I think most of you are getting it correct, which is that feet actually play a very big role. In fact, again, you should look up research in this subject. There is research. See, most of the research in this subject, unfortunately, is not done in India. So the kind of citations we have are of different countries. However, what we are sharing today in this whole program, it's all universal, which means no matter where you go, the tips that I'm sharing, they will stay exactly the same. Okay. Coming back to this research, there's research that was done on jury, wherever the verdicts are given by the jury in the courtroom. So what they said is, if you just look at the way their feet is placed, you can actually make out what kind of verdict is going to be coming in. That's the power of the feet. So not just about, whether a person is agreeing to something or not, whether they want to leave the room or not. There are lots of different things you can actually understand if you also focus on the feet, meaning you have to actually look at the entire body to understand what a person is all about. All right, so that brings us to the end of that quiz. Let's proceed forward. So now my question to you is, what exactly is the role of body language for lawyers? We've discussed a few myths, so I think you might have already gotten an idea where we are going with this, but I still want some answers from you. Where do you use body language as a professional, as a lawyer? What do you communicate or understand about people with the help of this science? You have to give me any one short answer. I don't need very long answers. Where do you personally use body language? Remember, if you're participating, you can actually get a surprise at the end. So make sure you participate. Tell me one thing that you use. Okay, somebody is saying cross examinations. That's a good answer. Anything else? When you are dealing with clients, okay, to understand someone's genuineness, right? Client counseling, client dealing, interrogation, presentations, negotiations. Great answers, everybody. So strategizing, great. So you can actually think how to, bring something in. In fact, there are also cases where, you really prepare the client before they, present themselves in the courtroom. So yes, there are lots of different places where body language plays a role. All right. So here is something that, has come across in our research about how exactly lawyers use. So maybe you knew about these, maybe there are some aspects about body language which you didn't know you can actually use in your professional life. So I'll just put them quickly for you. One is obviously to come across as somebody who's assertive and also as an expert in your subject. unless you come across as an expert, it's possible that the people who are listening into you, maybe it's your client, maybe it's the counterpart, maybe it's the judge, they feel that you're not totally committed or you're not totally confident about what you're saying. So that's where the use of the right body language can actually help you to present yourself authoritatively and as an expert. Second is to manage your clients. So I'm sure as a part of your daily routine, it's also important to be able to manage your clients. Now, management is of various kinds, right from building rapport with them to understanding what they are all about, to understanding when they are comfortable, not comfortable, are they in the right mood, right spirit, do you need to talk to them about their emotions, so many different things when it comes to client management. The next one is work pressure. So work pressure is there not just for corporate professionals, right? It's there everywhere. So how do you deal with your work pressure? How do you introspect when stress is getting the better of you in any situation or in general? There also your body language can help you to maintain work-life balance as well as be more emotionally intelligent about yourself. Then comes managing teams. I'm sure you all also have small teams or maybe big teams that you work in. So there, understanding your team members, understanding unset conflicts in the team, understanding what you can expect to be coming up in the near future, because you can observe the way the groups are behaving. All that also is where you can use body language. Then comes, like a lot of you said, in your negotiations and the deal management, whether it be for yourself when you're fixing your fees and other things, or it could be on behalf of your client with the counterparty, right? So a lot of it can depend on body language. And the last one over here is when you need to prep your client for, or any other witness for that matter, before they appear in the courtroom. So different type of places where you can actually use body language. I hope you all are already using it in all of these aspects. If not, then maybe you can start thinking about how you can best utilize body language for different strategies that I've put on the screen. So here was again a aggregation of different research that we've put here. How well you communicate can actually impact how much of an expert you come across as people who are listening into you. So I have a few specific tips that you can start applying right away. Okay, so I'll share them one at a time. First is fluent speech. So when we say fluent speech, that means you have to know what you are talking about, right? So if you take too many pauses or you have a lot of fillers like ahs, ums, you're repeating your words, or you are sounding a little low, or your pitch has become very shrill, then these are things that do not help you to come across as an expert. Second one is purposeful movement. Like some of you said that when you present your case, be it across a table or be it in the courtroom or be it when you're standing and presenting, wherever you are talking, the way you use your body, it has to look very purposeful. Again, this comes from a lot of research papers that we've dug out, where they've proven that when lawyers are using their body language, but it's not coming across as with an intent. Like you might be using your hand gestures, but they're not the right kind of hand gestures, or they're just moving around wildly, then that can not make you look like an expert. Third is channel consistency. Now, like this might sound a little esoteric, but what this actually means is that how you are speaking, meaning your words and your body language, they have to be consistent. So if your words are saying something else but your body language is indicating something very different, then people might be confused or they might not be able to take you as the expert that you are. So you need to be careful over there. Then we come to natural gestures. So what that means is, even if you are learning how to use body language in the right way, when you're using that, be it again in a meeting or in the courtroom, it has to look like it's a part of your natural expressions. For example, if I taught you that you can actually raise your eyebrows when you're speaking, and that helps you to emphasize your point. Now you feel that, okay, I didn't do it till yesterday, let me start using that, and from tomorrow you try and use raised eyebrows in your meetings. If you not practice it, what will happen is you will move them in a way that does not come across as natural and confident. That is why any kind of additions you want to do to your body language, you actually should practice it beforehand, before using it in a actual situation that matters to you. Then confident and varied tones. Now, there are times when you have to speak for a very long time. In those moments, if you don't have a varied kind of way of expressing, it can be through your voice, it can be through your body movements, then again your audience can lose interest in what you're saying. And the last one is avoidance of adapters. Now, again, you don't need to remember all these words. What it means is adapters are things that we show when we are feeling less confident or less comfortable. Some of the ones are like, somebody putting their head behind their ears, or maybe adjusting their watches, or maybe adjusting the tie. So these can again signal that you're not very sure or you're feeling uncomfortable. So these are the things that you should start implementing right away. Okay. So we've worked with a lot of these different kind of situations. So in case you're interested in knowing more, I'll take it up in the Q&A session. All right. So now we'll go into case studies. So before going that, I just wanted to share that what if you're not good at reading people or good at communicating? What are the different things that you can do? First is you need to learn the nuances of the topic. So you need to learn a little details about the topic. If you think that I'll observe somebody's face and I'll get to know what they're all about, that's again a myth. You need to be able to look at the entire body and understand them. So this is just one nuance of the topic. If you know a little more about the topic, then you will be able to use body language effectively. Second tip is you start practicing to watch videos. Now, when I'm saying videos, you should try and vary the kind of videos you watch. If you watch just a specific type of videos, then you will only understand a specific type of body language. Okay, so vary that again. The third one is you need to understand more about your style. So that is where introspection comes in. What are you all about? When do you settle into a meeting? When you're presenting, what are the kind of different body language movements you do? When your client is saying something and you like it, you don't like it, when you agree, be it in a negotiation, be it just in a regular meeting, what are your giveaways? And if you wish, you can always get in touch with us and we can help you out. So let's begin now with some of the case studies. So I will show you a clip, which is a video case study. You have to try and tell me, you will see the lawyer showing specific body language. Okay. So while there will be different people in the clip, you focus on the lawyer who's presenting the case. Tell me whether the body language or the overall non-verbal communication that's working in favor of this lawyer or not. All right, that's the only thing you have to tell me. Then we'll discuss the finer details. So let's just begin. I'll play this clip for you.
What would the correct ignition time be on a 1955 Bel Air Chevrolet with a 327 cubic inch engine and a 4-barrel carburetor? Does that mean you can't answer?
It's a bullshit question. It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Easy. Is this working for this lawyer or not? He's using a specific body language technique. Is that working for the lawyer or not? What do you think? Okay, so we are getting mixed answers. Yes, no, yes, no. So what he is doing is, one, he is coming up with a lot of facts and figures to try and show that he knows the case that he is presenting. And the second, when he is trying to get the witness in the box to agree or not agree, he is intimidating or stepping into her personal space. Now, the thing is, you need to be very careful about getting into somebody's personal space. If the person gets put off by it, it's possible that they hide into a shell and they don't open up at all. It's also possible that the person gives in even if they don't agree with what's asked of them, just because they feel intimidated because you're stepping into that space. So the answer to this is, it does not work unless you have a very, very specific intent behind that move of getting into that person's personal space. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah.
What is this? I've taken the liberty of scripting your appearance on the witness stand because, let's face it, you're somewhat of a loose cannon. Now, don't worry, it's written in your vernacular. So shall we rehearse?
Do I have a choice?
Well, of course you have a choice. Although we live in a deterministic universe, each individual has free will. Now sit down. call your attention to the events of November 16th. Do you remember that date?
Darn tootin', I do. If the court will excuse my homespun, corn-fed Nebraskan turn of phrase.
Yeah. So what are they effectively doing? They are rehearsing how they want to say what they want to say. Do you think this works? This doesn't work. What do you think? This works? People are very sure this works? Okay, partly wrong, partly right. That's what somebody is saying. Okay, so what I will advise you here is, while you can have broadly thought of, how you want to present, or the way the witness or the client is going to come across, it can get a little difficult to tell them exactly how to react to different situations. And I'll tell you why. You might prepare them for a certain number of questions. Okay, so unless you really grill them on every possible scenario that is there, what we have seen is there is a marked difference between the body language of a person when they are giving answers that are rehearsed and those that are not rehearsed. So people can be very quick to pick that up. So that's why you should be a little careful as to what is the detail to which you want to actually prompt somebody to be prepared for the I don't know, I mean, appearance in a court or appearance in a meeting. So you must all be having different kind of ways in which you present the client and the case. That's why I just hesitated. Okay, so now we go to the next one. Whether this is working for this individual or not, let's just take it up.
Conan Arkham, someone must have stepped up to run the so-called family. That man in this courtroom today? Could you identify him for us, please?
You win, counselor. It was me.
Okay, does this work? Does this not work? Okay, somebody is saying yes, somebody is saying no. Yeah, he's leading the witness. That is correct. So that's not really admissible. That's the thing. Okay, let's quickly go forward because we need to get to the next one. Okay, so now what will come up is you need to know the expert, meaning if you are the lawyer and you want to show that you are an expert, I'm going to show you what are popular poses of lawyers that we've seen. Okay, these pictures are going to flash for just a few seconds. What you have to tell me is, what does this person need to correct or what do they need to avoid? That's the thing. So all of these poses need to be corrected. That's what I'm telling you from the beginning. These pictures will be there for just a few seconds because we want to test how good you are at observing. So take a look at it and let me know. Okay. Yeah. What's your answer? What needs to be corrected in that person if he is a lawyer who is looking or wants to look like an expert? Okay, I think you're broadly all getting it correct when you say the arms and the posture needs to be corrected. So what happens is when you put your hands behind, what he's doing is he's doing something like that. Okay, it's called hooding. You don't need to remember the word, but what happens is you look a lot bigger than you are. Now that might work when you want to tell somebody that I'm absolutely sure about what I'm saying, but when that's mixed with what he's also doing in that case, which is going towards the back, that can show that you are close to any further argument at all. So unless you are absolutely sure that that's the message you want to give out, it can really backfire. So I would advise you not to do both those things together, which is to lean at the back and also to put your hands at the back of your head both together. Okay, next one is here. Observe carefully. What does this person need to change in their body language? Okay, so somebody got that correct. The smirk, what else? Sitting position. Okay, great answers. So what happens is, for those of you who didn't get that, she was slouching or she was putting all her weight on one side. Now what that does is it hides your neck, and when the neck is hidden, it can come across as a person who's not too confident. Along with that, the other thing that also needs to change is that smirk. So smirk is when you smile with just one side of your lips going up, something like this. Okay, so what that does is it tells the other person that you know better than what they are saying. Now when that is something that your client is seeing, then they might feel that, you know, no matter what I say, this person is not going to listen to me. That is why you should be very careful that you don't put a smirk on your face. Now this we have seen very, very commonly in people who know they are experts. It just comes very naturally as a part of their body language. So you just need to be a little careful if you know that's a part of your expression also, especially in those cases when you definitely want the person to open up and confide in you. Okay, let's move forward. This should be easy. What does this person need to correct? I think that was the easiest of all. Eye contact. Eyes were closed. What else was there? Eyes were closed. What else was he doing? When you close your eyes, that tells the person either that you are listening to them or that you're totally not listening to them. So what will happen is the other things together tell your client what exactly you're doing. So he's taking up too much space. He's pushing himself to the back and then saying that please don't talk. So when everything is put together, you come across as somebody rather dominant and totally closed down. Closed body language is not always when you put your hands and sit like that. Okay, in fact, crossing of the arms does not always signal that you are closed. So there are other ways also in which we signal to people that I'm not listening or I'm not in the mood to listen to you. So if that's the indication you're giving through your body language, then the person at the other end definitely would not be opening up to you. So when you want to show your expertise, there are better ways of showing it rather than trying to be over dominant or over aggressive in that conversation. Okay, right. So now we come to the case study. This case study is again a courtroom. What I wanted to see this time is the person in the witness box. Okay, observe the person carefully, and you also need to observe what is being asked of them and how they are answering. There's something very, very strange that they do when they are answering the questions. I want to see if you get that. And it's not just generic type of movements, it's something very, very specific. So try and see their body language. Again, you need to see the person in the witness box. Okay, watch very carefully, but you also need to listen in very closely. I'll try and put the volume at maximum. Here we go.
Any allegations, charges against the Archbishop during that time? Not that I recall, no. Especially since you were the state's attorney for the last 15 years. It's fair to say that you've supervised all the prosecutions in Cook County during that time, especially the prosecutions of all prominent figures. I also have a stat of 1,000 of the best prosecutors in the land. Yeah. As state's attorney, it was up to you ultimately to decide who would be indicted and who wouldn't. Yes. All right, let me just take you back now. Let's go back to June 1985. Do you recall any allegations of sexual misconduct against the Archbishop at that time? I don't recall that, no. Do you recall a young man by the name of Michael O'Donnell came to the felony review unit, your office? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, what did you see? The witness is the one we are talking about. I need body language specific answers. That's why I told you that look at the body language, look at the words and tell me that, okay, not the lawyers. I think still people are focusing on the lawyer. Look, I need answers about the person in the witness box. Okay, I think somebody got that. Change of position of hand. How does that change? I think Badri is the person who's answering that. How does the position of the hand change? What do you think? He was confident. What does it do? Yes, that's the correct answer. I think Dipanshu is the one who got that correct. He took his hands back when he answered. Now, when he took his hands back, do you recall what he was saying at that time? Anybody? No? Okay. So the thing is, that's why I said that body language is not a generic idea you have about a person. So for example, when this case study started, okay, so the witness who's seated there, you already see him a little stressed because you see him fiddling with his hands and all. I told you in the beginning about adapters, which is the kind of things we do when we are feeling a little uncomfortable. So that's what he was doing. He was fiddling with his hands just a little bit. That shows that he is feeling a little uncomfortable. He already knows probably the kind of questions that are going to be coming in. Now, when that questioning begins, whether that's correct or not, that's a different point, because I think somebody said he's crossing the witness. But let's get to just the conversation. He asks a very specific question, and before answering that, there are two things that happens. The person, he's giving all the answers, so probably rehearsed answers, which is why the pausing, there is no pause between the question and the answer. But when the specific question is asked, he takes his time to think and answer. That's very common, I believe, because people don't want to get their answers incorrect or say something that they might regret later on. But what also happens along with that is the person goes to the back, they take their hand at the back, and they change that body position drastically before giving that answer. Now, I'm not saying that every time somebody does that, that means they are lying. Okay. For lying, there is no one tell which can tell you definitely that a person is lying. So there are different techniques that you can try to get to whether the person is really lying or not. But what I will definitely tell you is that this person is not committed to what they're saying. There's definitely something going on in their minds that you want to dig down further. Because the minute somebody starts taking a back seat from the conversation, it happens in different ways. Not always do people take their hands at the back and sit. There are different ways in which people show or indicate that they want to be away from this conversation. So if you were not looking at this witness, like you were looking around, you were trying to look at the other people, the audience or the judge, and you missed out on this movement, then you might have missed out on what was coming in. That is why being a little perceptive about the body language of people around, it's very, very important. Okay, that's why I put up this case study. All right. So here are a few things. He was fidgeting, he was not very responsive, and finally the hands, they disappear from the screen. Okay, so that's what we had today. I had mentioned a surprise. So we have a course in case you want to learn more about body language, then you can get in touch with us. We have a course which is called Body Language for Beginners. While the name says beginners, it's a very comprehensive course that can help you to understand yourself, present better, and understand the person across as well. Okay, if you have any questions, we are open for questions. At the same time, we also have a feedback form. So what you can do is you can put we have one or two questions that are there in the feedback form. I will just put the feedback form here. You can fill that up, answer the questions. If you get those correct, we will contact you. Like I said, Komal was going to be a part of this. She handles all the winners. She's not around. So we will get in touch with you for if you answered the questions correctly. At the same time, we still do have one or two winners because I had mentioned in the beginning, if you are participative, we will give you a prize at the end. So I have written down a few names. You can get in touch with us. I will be putting up the number at the end. So the names that I've put up are Lavisha Arora, R.S. Sinha, Dipanshu, and Badri. These are the 4 names. So you can get in touch with us. We have a free consult for you, which is worth 5,000 that we do for clients, that we'll be able to give you absolutely for free. So you can get in touch with us. The idea was just to encourage people to participate and observe better. Okay, so any questions you have, we've kept some time specifically for Q&A because I think a lot of people have doubts when it comes to body language. So if there are any questions that you have, please feel free to ask. It can be to do with your profession. It can be to do with other places where you actually use body language or you want to understand more. I think in between there were few people who were raising their hands. So if you have doubts, please feel free to ask. In the meantime, I will also put up our website, which is there. Yeah, that's there, which is simplybodytalk.com. So if you want to read articles, if you want to know more about body language. We have a lot of articles, we have free ebooks, we even have free courses that are available. So just browse our website and you will get all those over there. And those who are winners or those who want to know more about how we can work with you, Komal's number is there. She had a power cut in her area since the morning, that's why she couldn't join. So you can get in touch with her Monday onwards anytime. And those of you who have filled up the feedback form, if your answers are correct, we will anyways get in touch with you. So that's all from my end. Now, any questions we have, I would like to take up questions, because I think a lot of interesting questions come out every time we host such free events. So anything you have, please ask. Any questions? I think we can. Okay, I am not sure whether this has been recorded. I think the right person to talk to would be the organizers of this event. If there's somebody from there, you can check with them. Do we have?
Yeah, it's being recorded and I will share the recordings.
Okay. So you can revisit the concept that you shared, because we've curated this just for lawyers. There are a lot of different cases, videos, research papers that we've gone through to put together this event. So if you go through the recording again, I'm sure it will help you. Any other questions? No questions. There are no questions coming in. I hope you were all listening in. No questions? Okay, so somebody is saying, what are the tips for confident posture? What do you think is the easiest thing to do? Easiest is just to rehearse what you want to say, right? Or mentally just go through it, but not to the extent that you start rehearsing that when I say this dialogue, I'm going to point, or I'm going to, use this kind of gesture. That's not what you want to do. But just a general tip that I will share with you, which is to make yourself just a little bigger than you are. While we don't want to go into the postures that I shared in the last quiz, which is to keep your hands at the back and lean to the back and put your hands on your seat next to you, but you still want to just open up your body just a little wider than you generally take up while you're standing, while you're seating and presenting, while you're in front of your client, or in the courtroom, wherever you are. Because if we just expand ourselves a little bigger, that helps us to be also confident and to come across also as somebody who is confident. Okay. The second question was, can we hide our nervousness while arguing? I will recommend not to even try that, because body language is very transparent. If you try and hide what you are feeling, it will come out in some other way. So there are different techniques. I will just share one of them with you, because the idea is first to know what are the things that you do when you're nervous. Then you can learn how to overcome them. So like I said in the beginning, if you are prepared, then you will not look that nervous. But another thing which I will share with you is, if you are showing different ways which are very visible, that means in the upper part of your body, then you need to learn ways to shift it to the lower part of your body. If you can learn that, it's a technique that can come with practice. But if you can learn that, then not all of us observe the lower half of the body. That can help you. Okay. Then there is something that does body language have something to do with head movements. So like I had shared in the last case study, the video case study, movements are very, very important when it comes to body language. It is the times when your body language changes. It can be from, maybe if you are sitting across from a client who has a habit of shaking their feet. So you might feel that, this person habitually just keeps shaking their feet. So why should I even bother? But when do they start shaking their feet? Does that feet shaking become a little faster at some time, or does it stop for a certain number of seconds and then start again? So those are the ways in which paying attention to movements can actually help you to understand a little more about what's going on in the other person's mind. Okay. Certificate for the webinar. Unfortunately, this is an open format event. If you attend our paid events or take up our paid courses, then we do have certification that's available. What body language should you use when you're trying to convince the judge? Okay. when it comes to convincing, I already shared that one slide which had a lot of different techniques. So if you had joined in a little late, you can go back to that slide and go back to the discussion that we did there. So we had at least 6 different tips and techniques that I had shared. So it was already covered there. Okay. Anything else? How correct is it that the cornea of the eye contracts and somebody lies? So it's not the cornea actually, it's the pupil. So I want to ask you, how closely can you actually focus on that pupil to understand? Okay. So pupil dilation and constriction is what we call that. What happens is when somebody wants to take in more information, that's when the pupil becomes bigger. That could be because they like something, that could be because they want more light to come into their eyes, that could be because they are attracted to something. And when that pupil becomes a little smaller, that could again be because they want to go away. That going away can be because of a lot of different reasons. It could be because they don't like the question, it could be because there's just too much light again in the room, it could also be because they are feeling a little uncomfortable, or they don't like what's coming in. So different reasons, but my question was, are you actually that close, or do you really observe somebody to that extent? There are other giveaways also. So if you don't have the opportunity to look at somebody's eyes that closely, then there are other things that you can do. Okay. Body language tips while being in the courtroom. Again, I will ask you to go back to that slide which I shared about how you can be assertive in the courtroom or when you're presenting anywhere. Okay, that will give you enough tips that you can start working with right away. Okay. I think a lot of people are asking about WhatsApp numbers and other things. I don't know whether they want the number that we shared or what. I will put up again that number. I don't know if you want ours or the organizers. Otherwise, I think we have somebody from the organizer who's there. They can help you out. Okay. I'm always confused when I need to present in front of an audience. My research and script are always good. So how can I grow it up? So there are lots of different techniques when you're presenting in front of an audience. The techniques are a little, varied depending on what is the size of your audience, whether you are referring to a PPT, or even in the courtroom, there are times when, you have pictures that keep coming up. So depending on that, you need to learn how to vary. There are different things you can vary, right from hand gestures to feet movements to how you vary your tone to how you look around at the audience. You need to be careful about all of these different things. So if I just go into that, it will take up one whole hour. So one tip which I can share with you is to try and engage a majority of the audience as far as possible. Okay. And another thing is just record yourself and view it. If you think that you come across very, very monotonous, then what you can do is just start observing people. That's why I shared that, if you want to become better, what are the things you can do? So you can just start observing other people and what are the different kind of things they are doing with their body language, so that they can bring about variety in how they are expressing. And you can try out those that suit you and your personality and those that don't. So with trial and experimentation, you can get there. If not, then you can just get in touch with us. We can help you out. Okay. Yeah. Any other question? Okay. So what else do we have? Just a second, I think. Is the whole body movement required when presenting or talking? So I will advise against it. If you start moving around with the whole of your body again and again, it can actually distract your audience. So you need to be a little strategic. And again, when you are planning, you don't plan at what point do I want to move from one place to the other, or at what time will I use my body movement and not my hand movement, or when will I use my facial expression. If you try and rehearse to that extent, it can really backfire. What you need to practice is how naturally can you make your body language more expressive, so that you don't need to focus on it when you are in front of even one client or in front of a crowd or in that courtroom. Okay. So if you practice that enough, then it will just become a natural part of your expression. Just remember that, body language is two-way, which means that it's not just your body that's going to determine, or your thoughts that are going to determine how you are coming across. For example, in an audience, if you find that the audience is losing interest in what you're saying, or they don't agree with what you're saying, their body language will start giving you all those signals. So as a presenter, you should be able to understand that, pick up those cues, and also adjust your presentation, your technique, or what you're saying accordingly. If you are able to master that, then you become a little better or an expert at presenting by itself. Okay. Anything else? What to do with hands when you are giving a formal presentation? This comes across, I think, maximum number of times when we talk to people. So I'll teach you a technique. What I will advise you is not to use it too often, because in media it comes just too many times. So that technique, it's a steeple, so you can try it out right away. What you do is you put all your fingers together. Okay, so this is how you can stand when you don't want to use your hands. When do you not want to use your hands? For example, if the other person is speaking or somebody is asking you a question, so at that time you are not the one speaking, right? So you don't know what to do with your hands. So different things you can do. One of the ones that I would want to advise is this one. Okay, steeple. When you steeple and stand, what happens is the other person feels you are in command of your thoughts. So you come across as somebody who is very confident. I'll give you one example of how you can actually, if you use steeple too much, it can backfire. I think Narendra Modi, right, when he was undergoing body language coaching, there are a lot of changes that have come in his body language over time. So there was a time when somebody had taught him how to steeple. So what had happened is, while he was, appearing in front of an audience, also he was walking with a steeple. That's not how it works. So what you can actually, where can you use a steeple? When you are in front of an audience and you think you are using your hands a little too much, or you are just standing there and somebody is asking you a very long question. So that's when you can actually try this out. Okay. I think that's the end of the question line that we had. So anything else, you can get in touch with us, and the website is there. So lots of free stuff there. You can just browse and learn. Okay. So I think I'll just end this here. And thank you all for being a very...
Thank you so much for being here. And I should tell it was really a wonderful session, because what we generally believe is that the advocates, it is required to establish the legal knowledge that is adequate to establish ourselves in court or in front of a client or something like that. But this is not so true. The significance of body language, you have put it up like in 1 hour. You have summed up it. I could say that it's like pro. You have nailed it. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm sure all the people who have attended, they are taking away a good knowledge of body language, and I'm sure they would be implementing also. And yes, you are free to contact Komal, and also I have in the message, or in the message sections, I have put up their email, their contact number, and yes, you can contact them, and they are available even on LinkedIn and other platforms. So I hope many of you are from LinkedIn here. So you can contact them there also, and for any other things you can ping us also, so that we can connect you to them. Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much. And yes, thank you everyone for attending and making it on a weekend.
Yeah, I think I also need to thank them. They've been very, very participative. Thank you all.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Thank you, everyone.